Yeah, I'm glad you came. Oh, okay, you came because I told you it wasn't a census room. Right, yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw your name, I was like, oh, it's the archivist, yay! Right on, yeah, cool. You're at the Sonoma Historical Society, is that right? That's part of the public library.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what, like, everywhere I'm going looking for things, it's either the local history society or the public library. Except for Colusa County, where there's still a clerk's recorder's office. It's such a small county, I'll recommend it for It's crazy. Yeah, well,
yeah.
It looks like you really appreciate that, for sure.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 2023. Sorry, I have an old script. Welcome to the September 2023 regional hearing of the California Truth and Healing Council. We'll edit that in post. It'll be completely fine. My name is Christina Snider-Ashtari. I'm a member of the Mihi-Lakana and Makamo tribes and a member of the Dry Creek Rancheria Band of Pomo Indians, and I serve as the Tribal Affairs Secretary for Governor Gavin Newsom. First, I'd like to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation for your partnership in hosting us here today and for being so accommodating. And then, as always, thank you to our outstanding Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs staff for your work in coordinating this convening. We just had dinner, we had a blessing, and at this time I'd like to go over some logistics and framing for today's discussion. As a reminder, we are recording this convening. The camera's over there for folks who are wondering. We will be posting it on the Office of Tribal Affairs YouTube channel once it's done. Please let us know if you'd like us to pause the recording at any point in today's meeting, or if there's anything after the fact you'd like us to edit out, we can do that as well. For those interested in following the council, ongoing updates, including listening session recordings and the listening session summary documents, are available at the California Truth and Healing Council updates blog at catruthandhealing.com. You can also get updates for events by following the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Additional details, including meeting dates, agendas, and background information, are available at tribalaffairs.ca.gov/CTHC. Our next quarterly meeting will take place in December in San Diego. More updates will be shared on the CTHC updates blog as they become available. And if you'd like to assist in planning that meeting, or you have thoughts about who should be at that meeting, what types of things should be discussed, we typically reach out to the local tribes to frame those agendas, but if you have any thoughts, please feel free to reach out to Loretta, who is over there with a camera. Do you want to say something about the camera real quick? Sure. I have a lot more to go, but.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Loretta Miranda. I'm a descendant of the Morongo Band of Mission Indians in Southern California, and currently serve as Deputy Tribal Affairs Secretary for the Governor's Office of Tribal Affairs. Thank you all for coming today, and thank you for being in this space, recognizing that this is a hard space to be in. Just want to thank folks for coming and joining us today. I am also wearing multiple hats. I take pictures. Generally, I take a lot when people are introducing themselves. So it sounds like I'm taking a lot because I am, because I'm not that great yet. So I take a whole bunch, and then, hopefully a couple of them will come out okay. And so let me know, though, if you do not want me to use your photo on social media or anything, please just come talk to me afterwards, and I'll pull those ones. But I'll be taking lots of photos today.
Thanks, Loretta. And if you already follow us, all of our very professional, wonderful photos are from Loretta. So I'd like to now remind everyone that in joining us here today, you agree to adhere to the Council's principles for respectful engagement, which I'll summarize for you in a moment. A copy of the principles is available for your use at our website at tribalaffairs.ca.gov/CTHC. And there's also they're not here today, but if you go on your phone, you can read them. They basically say, please, well, I'll tell you in a minute. Refusal to adhere to the principles which apply to all participants, including governing council members, staff, and community members, whether present or not, may result in your removal from today's convening. If you feel at any time that you need to step out, or if you feel that you may be in need of assistance, please find someone from our team, or please find Rose. Move back there. And she will walk with you and help you get some air. In order to create a space where participants feel welcomed, respected, and able to speak comfortably, we'll uphold the following principles in all convenings of the council, and we ask that all participants work toward sharing in their stewardship. If you are a participant in a meeting with us, we ask that you engage in the work of the council and with each other in an open and respectful way. Engage in behaviors that will make others feel welcome. Take care of your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical well-being, and seek support as you need it. Finally, I'd like to remind attendees that as we work through today's discussions, this process is necessarily open to all Californians, but we ask that those here as allies ensure that they please respect the space and voices of California Native participants, particularly elders in this process. For those members of the press in attendance or watching afterward on YouTube, we ask that you engage in this process with deference to the Native experience and that you commit to obtaining consent and final review from the Native peoples that you hear from today. We don't want this to be an extractive process, and we hope that you'll assist us in creating a safe space that is open, transparent, and welcome to all. So because of where we're meeting today, I want to address a little bit of context setting because this is a really difficult place to be meeting. And I know many of you are here and are docents or historians in the area, and so understanding that this is a really difficult space to be in, and so this is a difficult meeting for many people. Just want to frame that. Today we are meeting at the site of the Sonoma Barracks, which is adjacent to the northernmost California Mission San Francisco Solano. This mission was the only mission established under Mexican governance and was founded to forcibly convert California Native peoples to Christianity. Coast and Lake Miwok, Pomo, Patwin, and Wapo peoples were forcibly driven to this mission and used as slave labor. Many Native people died here. Once the mission was secularized, only a short time later, the Mexican soldiers of the National Presidio in San Francisco were relocated to this site in order to control Native populations north of San Francisco Bay. Local tribes continued to fight, attacking the Mexican soldiers several times in an effort to drive them out of this location and protect their homelands. In June of 1846, Americans arrived in Sonoma, proclaiming, and this was about 30, proclaiming the barracks their headquarters and founding a new American California Republic under the Bear flag. This would later become known as the Bear Flag Revolt and would begin the number of years the United States used this site as an army post to fight local Native peoples seeking to remain in their homelands. Just down the street, about a mile from here, is the site of General Vallejo's home, where he negotiated to live after the Americans took control of California. He knew that the land he had negotiated to live on encompassed what used to be a free-flowing spring and a place significant to Native people since time immemorial. He commodified this water to sell to the American citizens of Sonoma and lived off those proceeds while Native people were cut off from the site completely and the spring eventually ran dry. So this is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a difficult place to be in, where so much life and so many lifeways have been stolen from Native people. We chose to hold this meeting here not to re-traumatize Native people, but to point out this jarring reality. So much genocide has happened here, yet there's almost no messaging or public awareness in this area. I would bet that most local residents are completely unaware of this history and its legacy, and likely many celebrate the monuments to genocide that remain, that are also funded by state dollars to maintain. The Federated Indians of Great and Rancheria, who share territory in this place, have expressed that because of the history of genocide in this place, where the meeting is being held, no Great and representative will be here in attendance. We honor and acknowledge their choice. With that said, I want to make sure that you're all aware that we brought some medicine here today, and you're free to step out at any time. We have Rose Brown Steele, who relocated over there, to assist anyone who may need to step out and process what we're discussing here today. And we'll also be holding a future quarterly meeting in a healthier space for Native people later in 2024. So again, we thank you all for joining us here today, and we appreciate all the community members who are protecting their spirit and not joining us here today. We do not purport to speak for you or your ancestors if you're not here today. So at this time, I don't think we have any council members present, but I'd like to allow our partners to introduce themselves and say any remarks they have. If Director Quintero would like to begin. And then what we typically do in these spaces is any local Native people who would like to introduce themselves first can do so, and then we'll kind of open it up for introductions.
Thank you. And actually, I've never said this before, but I am a descendant of the Huichol people of South. I've never said this before. I'm a descendant of the Huichol people of South Central Mexico. And I am here as the director of the California State Park System. And I want to talk about 3 things that we are doing. We have embarked on something called Re-Examining Our Past, which is really exploring all the histories of the peoples of this state, and to tell those stories as truthfully and as accurately as possible, and also to bring the people who are living those stories in California to come forward and tell those stories. We are also looking at place names, and we've already embarked on changing place names across California. And many of those names that currently exist, on the one hand, there's derogatory names, which are already well on their way out, but we also have place names that often are the names of the settlers who actually killed the people who lived there. And the descendants, the people who survived, those people still live there. And one of those places is up north, and it is now called Sume. And you can actually go up to Sume and visit the site, and actually the stories there are told by the Yurok people themselves. And we are working with different tribes around the state so that it is their stories that come forward. And one of the things that I was just saying to Christina a little earlier is that I think that as a big community, we really have to think about the language that we use. I believe that we need a new language that is continually respectful of each other. And I have to confess that as the director of a state department working with tribes, it is, when we sign MOUs and agreements and things like that, I am no longer in those presentations referring to the state. And I think that these agreements are really more like the removal of a cultural dam that allows the re-owning, or just the owning, not the re-owning, but the owning of these places by the indigenous people and their practices and the privacy of their practices. And that's critically important, not only to me, but to the secretary and the governor and to the employees of California State Parks. I think I said enough.
My name is Matthew Allen. I'm the Deputy District Superintendent for California State Parks for the Bay Area District. And I just want to say to everybody, welcome and thank you for being here. It's an honor to be here and to share this moment with all of you.
Okay, so as a reminder, many people here are new to this space, so I just want to remind folks that if you're here as an ally or you're here to learn, you should mostly be in listening mode, and we will hand it to the California Native people and the Native people who would like to share in this, share anything in this space as kind of the voices that we want to be hearing in this space, and we'll defer to those. So at this time, typically what we'll do is have everybody introduce themselves so we know who's in the room and who's listening. so that people can appropriately feel comfortable sharing or not so comfortable sharing depending on who's here. And so we'll go ahead and get started with that. And then and you can share as much or as little as you want. You can just say your name if you'd like. You can also say something about yourself, or you can even share what you were prepared to speak about today. I'll actually start with Jason since I forgot to introduce you. So.
Okay.
Are you good? Do you want more?
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Hold on. Jason's good. I just also wanted to note one thing. Like, we do have medicine available. I gathered some a couple of weeks ago, sage, and so just wanted to let you know where that came from. It came from my homeland. I went home a couple weekends ago, so it's the sage in the little satchel bags. Just wanted to share that with everybody. I recognize like we're in this. Thank you. We're in this space that's really, really heavy, and you can just feel it here. So take care of yourself.
Well, and Rose just brought some freshly dug angelica root, which is the local healing. Yeah.
For the same purpose.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jason McCannell. I'm proud to say that I work for the Director of California State Parks as a research development consultant in the Director's office. I support the Re-Examining Our Past initiative. I'm one of the leaders of that team, and my specialty is actually place names because I'm a geographer. And I'm also serving on the Department of the Interior's Advisory Committee on Reconciliation of Place Names that's looking at derogatory names across the country. So lots of action happening there. If anyone here has place names that they'd like to see addressed, whether it's inside the park system or outside, I'm a person that you can talk to about that, so you can find me. I support the staff of the Truth and Healing Council with research and basically just tracking down documents and different items that we need to piece together this horrible history. It's quite it's daunting to be in the presence of some of these documents, be in the presence of the indentures that the courts issued that took children into slavery, to touch them with your hands. It's a lot. So I mean, I have my own history. It's not this history, but I feel the trauma in this place, and I'm just here to sit with everyone here and learn.
Either go this way or we can go.
There you go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Allen McCaster. I go by Matthias. I'm here as part of the subcommittee for status and identity for truth and healing. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole, a librarian with the Sonoma County History and Genealogy Library. I'm Zaida Delgado, and I'm also a librarian at the Sonoma County History and Genealogy Library. And a community member living in Sonoma County for a few years now, and just kind of want to know how I can support as a community member and as someone who works here as well.
Hi, my name is Tim Long. I'm a docent across the street at the Mission, and I just want to be able to tell a better story.
My name's Jerome Nill. I'm a docent here at the barracks, and likewise I want the way how to know how to present the situation honestly.
I'm Dee Katzen. I'm on the board of the Sonoma Petaluma Parks Association. Here to learn.
My name's Erin Mitchell. I was born and raised in Sonoma County, and I go to Sonoma State University. I also work for the state parks. I'm the groundskeeper, and I want to be able to learn how I can hold space and listen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leslie Hartzell. I'm California State Parks Department Tribal Liaison on behalf of our director, Armando Guerrero. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Buffy McQuillan. I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Federated Indians of Great Manchuria. I do a lot of work in Sonoma, all throughout Sonoma and Marin counties, and also serving on the Native American Heritage Commission, which is the state entity that protects sacred sites.
I'm Marianne. I'm a docent at the Petaluma Adobe, and I'm here to listen.
Carrie Fugit, she, her, with Lucia in Sonoma County and born and raised in Sonoma County, here to listen.
I'm Denise Fowler. I work here at the Sonoma State Historic Park, and I'm here to learn.
My name is Jack D. I'm the city council member of the city of Sonoma, but today I'm here, I just represent myself. History and a lover and a docent and receive the delegations across the bay or all over the world every year, at least 20 or 30 delegations. I always feel very proud to be a part of the Sonoma because this is a historic time. I remember, and when I was running for the city council, a lot of the people so excited. I said, Jack, we would like to see something celebration out in the town. That is a 200 years anniversary. That means this year. But the issues from the previous years, and we hesitated to do this because at the beginning, and we wanted to celebrate, and we were told we cannot use this word. And later on, we will use commemorate. And then later on, even no mention. So now I'm wondering, I want to listen because I know the history is the best asset for everyone. Tell the history, true history to our residents and our young generation is every the residents and living in the Sonoma's responsibility and obligation. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Patricia Cullinan. I'm president of the Sonoma Valley Historical Society.
I'm Ken Tiger. I'm Seminole from Oklahoma. I'm here with the Alliance for Beauty Cove to listen and learn.
Apentosh, Kwatsi Hopa, Inksche from Seminole. I'm Teresa Harlan. I'm the founder and director of the Alliance for Felix Cove. And I'm here because my mother, Elizabeth Campili Harlan, grew up on the west side of Tamales Bay in the home that her grandpa built. Joe, Felix, and Ben Felix, his brother. And that house is still standing. And it's the last house that has survived, built by Kosmiwakans. And it's right on the bay on Tamaliwa. And right now it's part of the Point Reyes National Seashore. But our history is about the fact that, like what you just heard, that colonizations beginning with Spain, Mexico, and the United States, our family lived on that cove. Our grandma, our great-great-grandma, Euphrasia Felix, met her husband, Domingo Felix, in Yerba Buena, before it was known as San Francisco. And they came back out of the missions and went back to the cove. And they lived there on the cove, which is mapped as Laird's Landing. We call it Felix Cove. And they also lived at Marshall Beach, which is now a favorite kayaking beach. And so my mom's aunt, Auntie Perky, lived on Marshall Beach, and my mom grew up at Felix Cove. And when the tide was low, she would go out and walk around the rocks and go play with her cousins at Marshall Beach. And the houses, the older houses at Marshall Beach are gone. They were gone when my mom was still alive. But the house that we're trying to protect and save and rematriate is still standing at Marshall Beach. It's now on National Park land. It's vandalized, but it's held in love by our family. And so I'm the youngest of the first generations of cousins. I'm the youngest of the people that can say my mother lived here. My older cousins, the last baby that was born there is in her late 80s. And so my cousins in their 70s, they want to go home. They want to go inside the house of their moms. And right now that house is locked because the floors are decayed. There's no floor. And boards are kicked in the house. And we work closely with the National Park to get the
the house repaired, the vandalism repaired. But it's still empty. It's still without the family there. And the wound that we carry is from the fact that my grandma was a ranch cook at McClure's Ranch. My grandpa was Swiss Italian from the Campili family, who was a ranch hand, both for Shafter Estates and McClure's. And they lived there. My grandma, Bertha Felix, and her sister Perfecta Felix, they were the matriarchs. They were known in the community. And when my grandma died in 1949, the rancher, K-Ranch owners said, now that the old lady's gone, I want my land back. And he tried to evict my Uncle Vic, and my Uncle Vic fought back in court. Luckily, the Marin County District Attorney, William Wysick, took the case as a pro bono case. But the pain continues, and these tears come because my Uncle Vic, he was the little helper to the great-great-aunt Celestina. My mom called her the blind aunt. And her name, Celestina, came down to shorten to Auntie Tia, which we know as Aunt, right? My mom spoke Spanish. My grandma spoke Spanish. We can only say that that's probably from the mission period. So Uncle Vic would go gather the medicines and the teas for Auntie Tia. And the school records show that his attendance rate was very low. So someone decided that boy needed to go to school, and they took him. They took him from his home. They took him from Auntie Tia. They took him from my grandma. He didn't want to go, and they removed him to boarding school. So I'm here because state laws, state education, if your attendance was poor, then you were marked as retarded. And my aunts and my uncles were all on record as retarded. My mom was the only one that was either normal or retarded. So the school system was not a place for learning or exploration and advancement as we want our children to experience today. It was a place of conflict. It was a place of challenge. It was a place where my mother had to fight off rancher boys from calling her dirty Indian. And that was actually one of her really proud stories about how her and her cousins took down a boy and ripped his clothes off. And how, her teacher stood up for her because the mom came back and wanted them expelled, and the teacher said, no, the girls had enough. He's been bothering them and bothering them and bothering them, and they couldn't take it anymore. So they only stood up for themselves. So my mom would get teased, and her sisters would get teased because they would come to school with burritos, beans, and clams, not sandwiches on white bread. So I'm here because after my Uncle Vic got out of that school that he was sent to, he came back to the Cove, and he lived there. My grandpa Campili built a cabin, which the park rebuilt behind the house, which was for the adult uncles. There was quite an age difference, and my mom was the youngest, so her brothers were all men. They would come and stay in the cabin. So my mom grew up collecting abalone, oysters, clams. She said we were food rich, pocketbook poor, and we would just, if we wanted food, we would go out and fish for perch. And if she was proud that she could row across Tomales Bay to Marshall, where they would get their mail and supplies, foods they couldn't make. So all of that history, when I go out to Tomales Bay, to Tamauliwa, I hear the voices of my mom and my uncles and my aunts and my grandparents. But when I go out there, it's silence. So this is what the Alliance for Felix Cove is about. It's about telling those stories, telling their histories, talking about the irony of how we have a hard time. I want to talk with state parks. We have a hard time getting Heart's Desire Beach, to launch our Thule canoe. We built a Thule canoe last year. We have an Indigenous youth kayak program because we want to bring back Indigenous voices to the Bay, to how it once was. Because right now, the pain, when I go to Tony Seafood and I see tourists pointing out to our beaches, to Marshall Beach is their favorite beach, and I don't have that same familiarity. I don't have that same relationship because our family was evicted, and once they were evicted, my mom didn't want to go back because she felt that rejection. If I'm not good enough to go to my home, then I'm not going back. So I and my cousins and my sisters, we were denied the opportunity to learn to fish, to harvest, and to grow up at the cove. When I go to the cove, I think, wow, my family was here with just fresh water and whatever they could make, you know. No palace market. So that's what I'm here, is to share that California laws, California property laws, the squatter law, you know, when my uncle went to court to fight and the judge wouldn't allow the oral testimony of Mary Consoti to say that our family was there when San Francisco was known as Yerba Buena, then they had to use, ironically, an indigenous man had to use a squatter law to try to fight for his home. 1870, the law said if you lived in a place for 5 years and you fenced it, it was yours. 1871, that law was amended to say that you had to show proof of property tax. So this indigenous family could not show proof of property tax. So my uncle lost the case, he lost the appeal, and 1956 was the last time that our family was in the house. And my uncle then, he worked at Abalone Oyster Company across the bay, and he died about 10 years later after the eviction. So, I'm sorry I took up so much time, but this is a valued opportunity and I had to take it, I had to use it. I had to make use of the access of the Truth and Healing Council, I had to make use of the access to state parks, and the governor's staff, because we're just a little family that want to go home. So, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank state parks for recognizing the value of the untold histories. I thank the local Sonoma people for coming to learn. I thank Truth and Healing people for providing this opportunity for us to share. I'm sorry it took so long, but I had to. I had to for Uncle Vic, I had to for my mom.
Thank you for that. Charlie Toledo with Susquehanna Tribal Council over the Hill in Napa. We advocate for the tribes. I'm indigenous to New Mexico. And my grandparents too were displaced involuntarily, but I'm here to listen today. Thank you so much for telling your whole story.
Hi everyone, Dosha Dodd. I'm the tribal liaison at Sonoma State, and I'm here to listen.
Madonna Feather Cruz, Round Valley Indian Tribes. Yeah, I didn't want to come to this spot either just because of the dead bodies of the relatives that are here, but I did want to come to honor my grandmother from my mother, so thank you.
I'm Lisa Carreño. I'm with United Way of the Wine Country in Los Angeles, Sonoma County, and I'm here to listen and learn.
Wihin Rose Steele, Ilambak, Ayokilbak, Kanakama Ole. How are all you? My name is Rose. I'm from Mendocino County in Lake County, from the Okeoni Lem tribe and also Hawaiian descent. And I also found out about the meeting through a relative, and I've been out in this area before, and it was it's a lot of energy, and so thinking of that and all the people that were making it today, I stopped and gathered some root and wanted to share that here, as we go through this process of healing and telling our stories. It's important to have medicine, to take care of ourselves, and to be in community. And so just here to offer support. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Peter Ostrowski. I just started here within the Bay Area District. My background is with education with state parks, and I've been doing it now for close to 13 years. And I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn, but I just want to recognize that in order to prepare for the council, I dove deep into a lot of things I didn't know about, and really had to have a lot of hard conversations with myself and with my family's past. So I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn, and then I'm here to educate the next level of my educators here in the park to help tell a better story, to help tell the story in a different way and in the correct way, and in the way that we are doing something that's more of justice for everyone that came to this place. So thank you.
Ayaki Kura, Nane Utham, Carolyn Smith. Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Smith. I'm Karuk. I'm from the Karuk tribe. We're in Northern California along the Klamath River. I grew up here in Sonoma, and the reason why I grew up here in Sonoma was, directly from, state federal policy. My grandmother grew up in our homelands. She was forcibly sent to government boarding school in Oregon at Chemawa. From Chemawa, she went to Fort Lapwai when she contracted tuberculosis. They did experimental treatments on her. She survived, but she never went back home. She traveled a lot of different places, and then when she finally had my dad, she was like, my dad's like her fifth or seventh child, I can't remember which. They moved here to Sonoma because my grandmother and my grandfather were agricultural workers. So that's how I wound up here. This is a hard space to be in. This is a hard space to grow up in. It's particularly a hard space to grow up in because, of course, as I was growing up, there were no Native people. We weren't talked about. We learned in school, it was just like natives were in the past. It was hard to be the only one in my class in grade school. And especially going to Catholic school and having to come to the mission. And, and at that time, I'm dating myself, at that time there was no recognition of Native people. There was no monument to Native people who lived and died here. Not that I necessarily agree with just having a gravestone and that is it for our Native people, or necessarily agree with the exhibits that haven't been changed since I was a kid, or do I necessarily agree with the lovely statue of General Vallejo on the park where you can sit down and have his arm around you, or the mural that is on the fence over here that sort of shows almost the sort of evolution of man, where the Native people were handing it off to the next. So, my presence is almost a form of protest being here. But I'm grateful for the Truth and Healing coming to Sonoma because these things, because it's a recognition that, I need to exist. Go and talk.
Hello, my name's Daniel Weber. This is my son, Joseph Weber. We adopted Joey when he was 2 years old. And the longer that I've known Joe, it's been about 30 years. He has a passion that it took a long time for me to feel it. But we had our ups and downs. But I'm watching him now as the man that is very, very interested in Native Americans. He's doing certain things and building tui boats and hopefully, I don't know, so much more. Takes care of housing in this tribe. I've seen and watched. I know more about Native Americans than I would have never ever thought or known in my life if it hadn't been. But also, it was sad because we lived in a small town, and you know, he hung around with a couple of brown people. That would be Vietnamese, but that's not the point. I saw how he was treated. You know, it's not always good being on the outside looking in, you know. But anyway. Oh.
My name is Joseph Weber. I'm half Pomo, half Lakota Sioux. I was taken at 2 and given up for adoption to the Weber family. And as I said, my name is Joseph Weber, but I come from the Hopper clan. I don't change my name out of the respect for this man sitting next to me, who taught me what to be is to be a man. I found my native family it's my daughter's 23rd birthday, so 22 years ago, I reached out and found my mom, who lived over in Santa Rosa. I drove by her house for 3 years. I was working in the apprenticeship program, so I drove right by her house, Austin Way, for 3 years. So when I finally met her, I got to find out exactly how you get Pomo and Sioux together. Apparently, my dad walked from Wounded Knee all the way down collecting the brothers and sisters for a big protest, she said. And I said, what was the protest, Mom? She says, I can't remember the name of the place. It was a prison. They called it The Rock. And I said, wait, you were part of the occupation Alcatraz. And she says, yes, but technically so were you. I said, no, Mom, I was born in 72, February 72. Alcatraz ended in 71. And she says, yes, but you were conceived on the rock. You were in my belly for 9 months. I can tell you the cell number. I said, oh. So that was my meeting with my mother. Now I met her and I got to learn the culture, because most of the time we teach our children, but I was new. So I got to learn my culture with my son and my daughter. And it was through them that opened my eyes, because as I said, I grew up in Sonoma, one of the more whiter towns in California. Love great wines, don't get me wrong, but as I said, not very many brown friends. I did get lucky. I did go to school with Carolyn. Me and her were in the same class together and graduated. But she was right. There was no Native representation. The only person I knew besides Carolyn was my bus driver, Terry. And she was a great bus driver, drove many children around. But I remember her being the loudest person, and that was my first experience. Hey, Native women are really loud. Yeah, we will do what they told you to. But as I said, so I met my mom and I learned the traditions with my kids, and then my twins showed up, so it was good. But I remember one specific thing that always sticks in my mind, and I shared it with Carolyn, was it came after me when we went to school, but my brother, my adopted sister, my other adopted brother did it. And it was called the Sugar Cube Missions. I don't know if you guys in this area know about the Sugar Cube Missions. So it went for a long time. My daughter went to Sasarini and it came up to her turn. And the teacher asked her to do it and she said, no, I don't feel comfortable. So warned her again and said, well, you're gonna go to the principal. So we sent her to the principal. The principal said, if you need to do this, you're a great student, what's the issue? I don't feel comfortable. I'm gonna have to call your father. Now I was working as a union electrician along with my father. So they called me and I'm upset because now I'm driving all the way back from San Francisco to talk to my daughter about school, and I just got there, I'm all, why am I here? Oh, we're building the Sugar Cube Mission. Hey, your auntie and your uncles did that. It's in Noni's house, in her garage. All you gotta do is repaint it. It's not a big deal. Now this is, once again, the generation difference, because to me, it wasn't a big deal. Hey, we could repaint it, no problem. No foul, you'll still be okay with the teacher. She said, looked at me and said, I don't feel comfortable. I'm all, well, why not? And this is where it got me. She said, enough of our people died building these dams. I don't feel comfortable. Right there, I said, stay here. And I talked to the teachers and said, no. And they said, well, we didn't know. I said, you should know, we dance for you guys. You know we're Native. But they said, well, she doesn't have to do the assignment. I said, no, we're going to do the assignment, but it's going to be, she's going to build a roundhouse, and it's going to be the effect that the missions were on the native. Now that was good because when we went and did the research over here, and once again, we walked through the missions. I felt the same way. And I grew up here, but I was different. I was seeing it in a different eyes. I was looking at protecting my daughter. As a man growing up here, hey, I could brush it off. But this obviously affected my daughter, which now affects me. So it opened my eyes. I saw the massive grave. And my buddy who I went to school with said, hey, Joe, you guys got a dance group. We're doing an Indian day or a celebration day here. You should bring your dance group over here. And I looked at him and I said, see those people in the street? I will never dance here. It won't happen. He's like, oh, okay, I could respect that. And we were about ready to walk away, and my daughter grabs my shirt and says, Dad, we should dance. And I'm all, what? But these people are here, she says, and I'll never forget it. These are the people that need to hear our songs. So I said, let's go talk to my Uncle Cal, who was our singer and taught me the dancing. And he said, we'll go. She's right. And I got a lot of grief from the Native community for a good 3 years until I went and danced with Dave Smith, and he came down with my uncle, and because he was like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that. And he came down and saw and listened to my uncle and me, and he came down, and he came down twice and danced with us. And it was, you know, and after that it eased up. You know, Mudcat and all the other dance groups, everything, it relaxed. But that experience of that bridging the gap and not understanding for me the old ways, hey, you know, the Redskins, I really never thought about it. Giants, Redskins, every Thanksgiving, where was I? I guess my head was hidden in the sand. But I didn't pull it out until I saw the effects of what had happened to our youth. And that's where I come here once again to ask you guys to look and think about the youth and the stuff that affects us. And all, you know, we're just looking for an apology. And as I said, right outside is a good start. It was a great start. They gave us a plaque. But then 3 years later, what did they do? They raised a statue of the man that put those people in that street. There is no difference, and I get a lot of slack for this saying, if I put a statue of Hitler next to General Vallejo, there is real no difference. They both did genocide. They took a lot of lives. There is one difference. The German government and those people acknowledged the genocide. The United States has yet to. So let's start the healing here. I'm not saying let's tear it down. I'm all for history. But let's put it somewhere where the Native community is not forced to relive that. If we do, it's because we choose to. We'll pay your admission and come visit the history. But we shouldn't be forced to look at it every day. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Abdi Soltani. I'm here with the ACLU of Northern California to listen and to learn also how we can support the recommendations that will come out of this process and to help see some of them through.
Good evening, relatives. My name's Teddy. I'm also with the ACLU of Northern California for just a couple weeks more, and so grateful and honored and humbled to have heard the stories that folks have already shared this evening. And I also am truly honored to be here as a member of the Strawberry Leadership Circle of the Alliance for Felix Cove. Thank you, Teresa.
I'm Miriam Casey. I am representing the Episcopal Diocese of Northern California. We have a group that's focusing on racial healing and reconciliation and doing that work with our Native brothers and sisters.
I'm Bob Wilson, Miriam's husband. I'm also involved with the Episcopal Diocese of Northern California that stretches from here to Nevada and the whole way up to Oregon, so we're a large area. And as part of our work, we teach racial reconciliation workshops, and part of that is to tell the truth about the history of the indigenous people of Northern California, and specifically in the areas where we're having the workshop. So I'm here to learn, and so I can learn more about the history and spread it to the people that we have at our workshops throughout the northern part of the state. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Pozo. I've been a California State Park docent for about 17 years, a dozen years up at Coloma, and 5 years down here, and it's been a real education down here, I must say. I enjoy the discursive intercourse with everyone, and I look forward to learning more.
I'm Peter Meyerhoff. I've been a historian here for several years, and I'm here to listen to everybody and to learn, and I hope to see justice done. Thank you.
Ryan Forbes, and I'm with California State Parks, Interpreter 2 here, working with Peter as part of the educational team, and very much looking to listen and learn so we can improve.
Spirit, we ask you that you come and you heal us, mend our hearts. Thank you for the prophecy given to Black Elk, Black Kettle, Crazy Horse. They all had the prophecy that one day all the children of different colors will play together. And I see it today coming to pass right here, and I'm honored to be a part of it. All of us are the 7th generation from when the prophecy came. And this is what they saw, that one day we will sit together and talk and play together, and that our children will indeed play together. Oh. What's my name? My name is Maria Medell. His wife. He only has one.
Hello, my name is Julian Medell. I'm from the Watukunaum people from Eden Valley, Uxumaha, and also from Dry Creek and Kashaya and Grayton, my grandma's side. My grandpa's side is up north. And I just found out on my email, finally got an email go through in Round Valley. And so we showed up. And I was sitting here in the beginning and I was like, man, that's a lot of innocent bloodshed that's crying out. And I was gonna just get up and walk away. And because it's thick. And it's innocent blood. But today we get to speak on behalf of that innocent blood as First Nations people. And I'm grateful and honored for that, because they prayed us to this position. They prayed us to this day. They prayed us and they walked it for us in front of our Creator. We only have one Creator. And He's been gracious enough to us to keep us here. And that's how we survive. No other way. And so I'm honored to be here, and I see a lot of healing happening already. Please don't close it off. Please don't harden your heart. It's going to be rough, but it's going to be worth it.
Hello, my name is Heather Duran, and I'm from the Tule River Indian Reservation. And it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to come with our chairman, because he sits on the Wellness Healing Coalition, and I've been traveling with him and listening and learning at the same time, and listening to the hearts and the things that we want to correct what has been wrongfully done to our people that are gone, been tortured, whatever happened to them. And it's just an honor to be here.
Yo kinsistoinen majos Neil Perone, Hohona Hotchulich, the Mokina Tina Perone. My name is Neil Perone. I'm the chairman of the Tule River Indian Reservation. I also serve on the Truth and Healing Council in on the eastern portion of the council. I'm here to listen and hear what happened in this area and how it so much closely relates to what happened in our area as well. So it's an honor to be here, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Pro, and I'm a member of the Tule River Tribe and work for our tribal council for a little over 30 years, and kind of got to play hooky from the office and get to travel with our chairman, who's also my husband, and council member Heather Tran. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Walcott. I am a park interpreting specialist with California State Parks. I work mainly with children, and I think it's very important that children understand and know the truth behind what has happened. So I'm hoping to be able to listen and acquire more information on the background.
Hi, I'm Dave Duplantier. I'm an interpretive specialist here also with State Parks. My main focus is community outreach, and it's quite an honor to be here tonight to listen to this. And it's also a sub-honor to say that I have, Joseph, your Thule boat canoe that you donated to us years ago, right in the barn here that we use actively in our education program. So thank you.
Well, my name is Robert Bassford. I'm from the Shingle Springs Miwok tribe. Just here to listen. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cesar Caballero. I'm part of the subcommittee, Truth and Healing Council, for Truth and Identity. And I've been hearing my grandfather's stories, my mother's stories, my father's stories about our Indian blood, our Indian identity that we have. You know, I'm 30% Indian, 30% white, and 20% Spaniard, according to my sister's DNA report. And I got a document that goes back about 100 years that says I'm a Miwok Indian, and representing and protecting the identity of the Miwok tribe. And I've been researching, you know, a long time since I was a kid. I used to go to Indian classes and make little stuff, made a drum. I made a little piggy bank that said Miwok on it. And I probably was 10, 12 years old, you know, and growing up, you know, to grow up and find myself in disputes of who gets to call themselves a Miwok. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, I got this document that says 100 years back, it says I'm a Miwok. I've been a Miwok since I was a little boy. I know my grandfather, my grandfather's brother, and all his sisters, you know, I know they went to the Sherman Institute, which was an Indian school, and they were recorded there, and they had report cards at the Sherman Institute, and they recorded the Indian's name, they recorded the Indian's grade, and the Indian's tribe. And you don't hear that too much about these institutions where they recorded this stuff, and it's in black and white, it's documented, and they didn't get it from me, they didn't get it from someone else, they got it directly from the child, or directly from that person that was taken into this school. But nevertheless, we find ourselves, you know, debating, talking about who gets to call themselves Miwok, who gets to be that Miwok identity. And I look at the Federal Register, you know, it has, you know, 596 tribes throughout the United States. And then the state of California has 117 tribes throughout the state of California. These 117 tribes were recorded by Congress and Indian agents, and the Indians themselves, you know, they signed their application, and they wrote down what tribe they were from. And going forward, these reservations were got their names, and all 117 tribes were given different names. Some were called Sheep Ranch. Some were called Miwok Tribe. Some were called Pomo Tribe. Some were called Yurok Tribe. And this is all recorded for about 100 years. Then all of a sudden, gaming comes in, and you see these several name changes. These name changes, nothing's published in the news. No legal name change whatsoever that we all understand to be a legal name change. But yet these name changes appear where they're taking off the Miwok off the name of the tribe. Like, okay, well, they took the Miwok off the name of the tribe. Did they also remove the Miwoks from the tribe, or can the Miwoks actually still apply to that tribe? Well, if you look into it, investigate a little bit, no, they're not. You can't apply no more. You don't even need to be Miwok in the tribe no more. So the entire reservation has been usurped, taken away, and sometimes our board here, they talk about name changes, removing this name and that name. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing, because we're recorded for millennia years as the Miwok tribe. And if you remove the Miwok tribe's name off its reservation, well, that ties into our documents that we have that says that we're Miwoks. And that ties into our possession of those lands and the right to be able to do something on that land. Not necessarily open up a casino, but maybe you just want to cook a traditional meal. Maybe you just want to gather some berries, different things that you might want to do on your land, and we're not able to do that stuff anymore. The identity's been swiped, and then you go for some tribes that they still got the Miwok name on there, and you go talk to them, say, hey, I'm a Miwok, here's my document. It's like, oh, you don't need to be Miwok to be part of the tribe. Wait a minute, it's the Miwok tribe that's on the land here. It's like, oh no, we're something else now. We're not that anymore. Okay, well, what about the Miwoks? We're in the heart of the gold rush. We got hit really hard. A lot of tribes got hit hard, and some tribes got completely decimated. In the center of the gold rush, man, our numbers were really low. If you go to the 1910 census, and you see all the people, all the population that was there, and you count how many Indians were there, on the very last page of that township, there's one page of Indians. There's maybe 10 Indians left in this city, another 10 Indians left in that city, in that township, and there's very, very few Indians left. But they are recorded, and we were given fiduciary documents, and it's hard to get all this out. I've been breathing Miwok since the day I was born, and looking at hearing my grandfather's stories, my mom's stories, and I couldn't say I was prepared myself for all of a sudden being challenged, like, hey, you don't get to be Miwok. Wait a minute, it's not Miwok territory, it's another territory now. Wait a minute, in the congressional books it says that it's Miwok, and it's recorded in the National Archives. I don't understand how these name changes are legal, especially when it has to do with changing the name of a tribe. That's a very huge thing. It's a very big fiduciary violation. It's an act of genocide. When our children, our grandchildren, I'm a brother, I have 3 younger sisters, and my 3 younger sisters and all of her children, they don't get to participate in this because there was a name change. And the name change was not properly published. And who are we to be changing a tribe's name that maybe to benefit another group, and yeah, maybe they'll get to be legally recognized in under their such identity. But what about that identity that's been recorded for 100 years by Congress? And we're in these books, Senate Resolution 115, Senate Bill 1007. We're all in these books, and these books are like, oh, well, we're not going to recognize that book. But those books were published by the Senate in collaboration with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And it's, with the seal of the state of California, with the governor's seal, and it was sworn statements. it's really complicated with these name changes, especially when it comes to the Miwok reservations. And, you know, in this county, in the neighboring county, in the other county over, our territory, you know, encompasses a couple of counties sometimes, and yet we're supposed to pick this little corner, and we're giving up our entire territory. And even in that little corner that we pick, we can't be there either. It's really weird, and it's hard to understand because, you know, we've tried to accept the education that's been given to us by the new arrivals. You know, some of them my relatives. Like I said, I'm 30% European, 30% Miwok, and 20% Spaniard. But it's hard to understand and comprehend this stuff. I'm looking for other able-bodied, more, you know, degrees on their name to try to help me understand that and put some perspective into this matter. And I hope our Truth and Healing Council, Truth and Identity Council, which I'm a member of, I hope we have some kind of teeth, some kind of reach of maybe sponsoring a bill through Congress for the old identities that were removed, for those identities to be properly recognized. I don't necessarily want to take title from a new tribe that, you know, that's become prosperous under another name, but I don't want the original identity of the tribe, of the identity of that tribe is supposed to be recognized there, not to be able to access their home anymore. These are painful stories. You know, our scalps being paid $5 per scalp, that brought tears to my eyes a long time ago. This lady's story that she can't access her home, you know, these are tough stories. These are, you know, and I guarantee you her identity is probably very solid. And why would she not be able to access anything within her territory? Anyhow, I could go on for a while, but after I go on for a while, I start getting confused. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic. And thank you to everybody, and you guys, God bless you guys.
Hi, I'm Kat. I am a resident of Sonoma, and I just came to listen, and I'm honored to be here to do so.
Hi, my name's Kate Green. I am the archaeologist and tribal liaison for the Bay Area District of California State Parks, so this park is included. I do want to acknowledge that this is such a difficult place to meet and add on that I understand that very deeply, but I still am very honored that everyone has showed up and come to talk. I really want to listen and hear how we can improve in many ways. I totally take to heart the criticisms of our interpretive displays at this moment, but I do want to also say that we are working towards improving all of that, and Native voices are going to be a prime component of that reimagining and re-examining our past in this place. So thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing more stories.
Hi, my name is Danny Franco. I am here on behalf of myself, but I also work for the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy. I'm just here to listen and learn how I can be a better ally in my life and in my work. So thank you.
Monique Sanoki, Tongva, Chumash, Yaqui, Zapotec, and Irish. I am currently living on in the territories of Northern Pomo tribes, and I work right now as the intertribal elders advocate for the Sherwood Valley Band of Pomo Indians under a grant through this program. In our grant, our director wrote this grant really to involve the community in these meetings, but also to focus heavily on the healing aspect and bring that to the community, to the elders. So we focus a lot of our meetings on that aspect. We have 2 meetings a month, and we range from 6 to 22 elders coming to our meetings. So I'm really happy with that turnout. I would like to see more people have the opportunity to do such a program. That would require more funds, more organization, a lot of things, but I think this program really works. I'm trying to be positive because I'm on the clock. Can't tell you what I really feel about the process or being here in this jail. But what I can say is that I'm really glad you guys are here and that you're listening And the best thing that the non-native people can do is educate yourself. But you need to limit that, and you need to reach out to your local tribe or native community and ask for their opinion. And that can be a difficult thing because everybody's very busy answering everybody's questions. So don't get discouraged, keep asking, keep inviting, offer stipends and honorariums to people to come present to you, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of trauma for us to sit here and tell our story again, you know. So make those offerings, and I guess provide the space and the community to come and listen to the truth, and have your backup there. Have people like Rose that are there to help people that have difficulty hearing the truth, because a lot of us don't want to do that. It's very painful for us, and it's going to be very painful for you. So yeah, I just encourage you to really do the right thing. And of course, there's a big land back movement, so please be involved in that and educate yourself on that and see how you could help indigenous communities get back to their land and have funding and have the time and space and to have the peace, you know, mentally, physically, and spiritually to do that, because it's a lot of hard work being Indian. It really, really is. Even with our advocates, you know, we're here because of the best intentions of some people. So we struggle every day, and yeah, I just really encourage you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Sintamana, Melodiana, Shibal, Hai, Donnell, Yokeo, Ana. So my name is Melody, and I am from Sherwood Valley in Yokeo, which is in Northern California. I didn't know about this place. This is the first time I've been here, and I just didn't know about this place. But I was born in Fort Bragg. And so when I tell people I'm born in Fort Bragg, they said, oh, in North Carolina? I'm like, no, California. So nobody knows about Fort Bragg in California because it's this tiny little coastal town. And I just think that all of the towns that are named Fort, with a fort in front of it, should be renamed, really. It's not like here, you look around, yeah, this looks like a fort. Fort Sutter in Sacramento, that looks like a fort. Yeah, Fort Bragg doesn't look like a fort, but the name is still there. And I think all of those towns and cities with that name, those should be the first to go. Also there at Fort Bragg was Mendocino Reservation. And there are a lot of, all the Pomos and probably a lot of other tribes were put there. Luckily, well, a lot of people just left. They just, I'm going back home. I don't care what they say. So Sherwood Valley, the old Sherwood Valley, is between Highway 101 and the coast, like almost in the middle, 15 miles. So as the crow flies, right, it's just 15 miles to the ocean, and then east 15 miles to Highway 101. So my grandmother lived there with her parents, and that's where they're from. So they would make this trek from the valley there over to the coast, right, to get seafood and back again. And that's just how they lived during the seasons. And I mean, that wasn't that long ago. She was born in, I think, 1889, and she died in 1980. So it wasn't that long ago, but that's when they were going there, it was a fort. And she told me, growing up, she was 12 when she saw the first white person. And so I just think that those towns, you know, those should be renamed. They should not be forts. So recently in Fort Bragg, the city council put out that they asked, you know, shall we rename the town Fort Bragg? And it you know, kind of turned into a big thing because a lot of, the townsfolk were like, didn't want to. A lot of them are progressive, they're artists, and so they're like, yeah, we should change the name. But then it was like, well, what should we change the name to? So they're saying, you know, we were there, Pomos were there all along the coast, and so we should have name there. Well, my grandmother, where they lived in Old Sherwood, there were a lot of villages. I mean, we're bands, so we have, you know, like 20 bands of Pomo in Lake, Mendocino, and Sonoma County. I think in because we're in Mendocino County, but where my grandmother lived at Old Sherwood, she was in a village, and so there were villages. We weren't bands, really. I think bands was a colonizer word, but they were from villages and they had a name. So to name these towns with fort and, you know, whatever person they were named after, obviously named after a brave person. You know, you can just look at the area around and the natives around and come up with, like for us, the village where my grandmother's from, the fact that they did end up staying in Fort Bragg, you know, then that's fine too. But I think there's enough information out there to be able to rename these cities and towns after local, you know, villages, tribes, or whatever. Because you know, you might know, Josh, but how many fort cities there are in the whole United States? I don't know. I mean, I know Fort Bragg, California, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You know, there's a Fort Dick up in Del Norte. I know that because right now I'm living in Humboldt County, and I do travel up there to Del Norte, so I know that. So I'm sure there's a lot, even though they're very, very tiny. So I think that would be a great thing to happen, because just hearing fort is, that right there is just a lot of bad memory. That's just horrible. And Bragg, I don't even know who that is. Of course, you know, I don't care to know who that is, but I don't think the local townspeople now, I don't think any of them even know who that is and what they did. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. So thank you for listening.
Maiwato Shishama Imta, Dino Franklin, Kashaya Acha, Coast Miwok Acha, Hawaiian descendant. Currently, I sit on my tribal council as the secretary of the tribal council, former chairman. I come here in a non-government capacity. I was told by our chairman not to represent the tribal government, and I honor him by doing that. And that's my brother Reno, so don't want to hear about it from him later on anyways. Man, my heart's been racing this whole time. Standing on this ground, it's Brother Julian put it correctly, you know, it's thick. The blood is thick. The cries I could hear. I get kind of emotional when I come into this town because I grew up, born and raised Santa Rosa, you know, grew up in Sonoma County, and this is just one place, you know, you really weren't welcome if you had brown skin. You know, you were treated different. It was obvious when you walked through this town how different you were. And coming here, you know, I think to myself, you know, what's the message that Father has that he wants to use me to speak? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to represent the Father. This is all his land. And we're his creation. And sometimes the creation gets out of whack. And those that are created do silly things. And therefore we have history. And I want to acknowledge my sister, Christine. I acknowledge her when she's in the room because I have a great deal of respect for her, our Dry Creek sister over here, who's come from our lands, and has a lot of weight on her shoulders. The burden is heavy because there's so much to deal with in Indian country. It's just continuous. And I acknowledge you for that, sis. I really do. And to my brothers and sisters that are here representing the lands here, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing space here. Joe, first time meeting you, and I appreciate you, brother. But these strong sisters that are here, man, I look up to every single one of them, all of them that are in here and have spoken. Their wisdom is very important to our people and for you to hear. Like the other day, just in conversation with the Father, he really put it on my heart that when the land is sick, the people are sick. When the land is sick, the people are sick. This land is sick. This land needs healing. That goes for this whole state. You think about the history of what happened to our people, that was a sickness. And they thought we were the sickness. This government, California government, the missions, the gold miners, anywhere where we stood in the way of their progress, it was just a removal process for them. And we were removed, consistently removed, whether that was by death or being a transplant to another part of the state. You know, we look at the Bay Area and how many people were transplanted into that area just to get them away from where they could grow vineyards, where they could grow orchards, where they could harvest gold, harvest our resources. They're scratching the ground consistently. They're constantly hurting the earth. I look, and as I was coming through here, and I seen all these vineyards, and I think to myself, man, it's time for you to divvy up and get out. That's how I honestly feel. That's the anger that comes up in me. For all you vineyard growers, those of you who are here making money off this land, who haven't done anything for the people of this land, the First Nations people, those of us who are indigenous to this land, those of us who were in commune with it and in commune with the Father, and we knew why we had purpose and we knew our identity, but it was consistently removed, chipped away at. And this mission, what a cute little plaque that is over there. To me, I just think to myself, wow, you guys, whoever thought those words up, that here lies, they made it so really neat that there were people who died here helping to build a mission. How dare? I want you to be honest about that. They weren't here helping to build the mission. They were kept slaves. They died of heartbrokenness. They died because they were taken out of their lands. They died because there was a person who thought that the only way that they could represent the Father and his Son was to come here and forcibly change people's ideas and the way that they had communion with the Father already. I struggled about talking because I don't feel like I'm a really good talker, and sometimes I feel like my message can get skewed by my emotions. And I think about, what do we do? Someone mentioned reconciliation earlier. Let me tell you something. To have reconciliation means that you had a relationship first, that you could reconcile that relationship because you already had that relationship. But that relationship doesn't exist, and it still hasn't. When we're sitting here in a place that we told you not to come to, why don't you think you have tribal leaders sitting in this audience? Why don't you think you have elders sitting in this audience from these lands? Because we told you we don't want to be in this place. But I still felt the need to come, to deliver that message, because it needs to be heard. You want to check a box Don't check a box with us, because our name isn't by any kind of check mark at all. Don't do that. You want to talk to us, you got to wait for the answer. And don't expect it to come because you're trying to spend your budget down quick enough to get the next funding to come through. Don't do that. Don't do that to us. That's already been done enough. We really need you to hear us. We really need you to invite us to the table when we're ready to come to the table, but you keep sending the invite out. Are you ready, tribe? Because we're ready for you. That's what we want to hear. That's what truth is about. That's where healing begins, is stop telling us when to show up and where to be. Oh, I love Leslie. She knows I do. She shows up in our tribal office. She drives from Sacramento. That's why I have so much respect for Christina as well. When she comes, where do we need to meet? Let's meet over here. And she shows up. But they wait for the answer. They wait for the answer. They just don't come and say, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and hold this meeting anyways. And no, because it's really about the people of this land. So, healing, what's that look like? I'm involved. I actually started getting involved with the mission about 3 years ago, because I had a friend that reached out to me. He said, hey, D, we're walking the land right now, and we're walking for healing. And we start right there in the mission, right there in the Sonoma Square. And we take our shoes off, we circle up, we let our feet touch the ground, and we begin this walk with the prayer. This Sonoma mission being the very last mission built far west, this being the last, and they walk up to Matini, aka Fort Ross, which is in my territory, the Kashai lands. And that's a 77-mile walk. And they said, D, how can you help us to really understand what healing's about? Because we got this idea that Father is lamenting over this land. And we want to walk with lament. We want to walk with real prayerful tones of asking for forgiveness. Not just out of guilt, but we're asking for the healing of the land. It's part of a thing called Camino de Sonoma. Kind of similar ring as Camino de Santiago that happens over in Spain, I believe, somewhere over there. That's 500 miles. I don't know about that one. But as I got involved with this group of people who are walking the land, who are actually asking for the healing, it wasn't a big show. It really wasn't even about putting it out there for the whole world to know. It was really about something personal for them as they walk. And I want to invite any and all of you to, you want to help heal the land? Here's a way. Definitely. Seems like our people always walk when it comes time for healing, right? When it comes time to bring something back to the land, we walk. I want to acknowledge the Gnome Colt walk that's happening up north right now. Our people who are walking over those mountains, who are walking for the healing as they walk back into Round Valley over on Saturday, correct? They're walking for the healing of the people. Just got done, I think the long walk for salmon just happened. Am I correct in assuming that as well? Our people know how to walk because we were forcibly walking all over the place, but at the same time, we walked because we knew we had to travel to get to resources. So anyways, I do want to say thank you. I don't want you feeling bad about this. I don't want you walking away from going, damn. I really want you to walk away from this just hearing us and understanding why there isn't tribal leaders here, why there isn't more representation of the First Nations people of this land. I'm grateful for all of you who did come from all over the place. Julian coming all the way from Round Valley, that's a long ways to come from. It ain't no joke. And I used to hang out with your family over on Austin Way in South Park back in those days. I don't know who you are, Joe. So anyways, thank you for the time. I'm grateful for this. You know, what's funny is Creator has a great sense of humor, because I was gonna say my piece and walk out of here, and what does he do? He keeps me for last. Yeah, that's what he does. And let me end with one more thing. I want you all to know I love you guys. I love you all for being here. I don't come with hate in my heart. I really do come with love. And sometimes love is a scolding way. But I don't do it out of hate, and I don't do it out of anger. I just wanted you to know that. Go.
Oh. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Ann Cox, and I'm on the Sparks board at Sonoma Petaluma State Historic Parks Association. I came to listen, learn, and I have to say it's very illuminating.
Hi, my name is Suzanne. I'm a docent at the mission. I'm on the Sparks board, and I have listened, and I am listening, and how to translate that into learning, into communicating. It's a real challenge, and thank you for giving me that opportunity.
My name is Donna Vigil, or Vigil, as we say in southern Colorado, northern New Mexico. I work at the park as a special event coordinator. I've only been in Sonoma for about a little over a year, so I'm not of this land, even as a native Californian, but I'm here to learn and listen and try to have some understanding for what's happened, because I know how history can be lost, how when you don't have the stories that are known by everybody, you don't have that understanding. I know in my own family in southern Colorado, my grandfather's mother was Native American, who was adopted by a Hispano family, and our family's lost all the perspective and understanding of having connection to whichever culture she came from. So I'm just really honored to be here and hear your stories, because I think those are something that are so important. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Name I was given was Marine Maggio. I've been coming to these truth and healing circles for a period of time with some others who have traveled up and down the East Coast, as we call it. Whatever. You can't hear yet? Yeah. It's difficult to talk, because what I would like for all of us to do, because we're here for listening, and I've spoken at other circles before, and what I would like us to do now on this particular this land, if we can all stand and if we can close our eyes and start with your bodies and just feel what's inside your own body with what you've heard in words from hearts and from spirits who have different belief systems, because that's where it really needs healing. So feel your own spirit in this circle with multiple people who have multiple belief systems, multiple spiritual pathways. Feel that first. And as you sit with that and with your breath, let it touch the breath of the earth and those
but we honor their voices. Allow yourselves to listen to them with your spirit. Because that's why we're here. As one people now.
My name is Heather Holm. I'm with our Interpretation and Education Division of State Parks. And everything that has been shared today has had a huge impact on me, so thank you. And it's strengthened in my mind our need to change how we tell the stories within our parks and the importance of having Native people in the creation of the stories right from the beginning. And I'm determined that that will be part of interpretation going forward.
My name is Dina Mitchell. I work with the State Parks MOU program, working on building MOUs between California tribal nations and the state parks. And I'm here to listen and to learn. And I wanted to say thank you very much for the knowledge that you're sharing. I'm not native, but I'm from rural Alaska. And from the place where I grew up, the sharing of knowledge is very powerful and is honored as important as sharing of resources and as sharing of brotherhood. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to sit here and share the knowledge that you're sharing with me tonight. And even though it is hard and it is heavy, and even the knowledge of this place in particular, and the issues with choosing and not choosing to have this as a place to come, hearing about those different sides, that also is knowledge about the context and the weight and the history of this place. And so I just wanted to say thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler Markley. I'm an interpreter here at the Sonoma State Historic Park. I primarily work with our docents as well as our school programming, primarily fourth graders, both here in the park and online. More than anything, I just want to thank everyone for coming out near and far, telling your stories, listening. I'm here to listen tonight, but it's not really about me. It's about us wanting to improve what we're sharing with the thousands and thousands of school children that come through our park every year. visitors from across the world who pop into our park every year who don't know these stories, and they're walking away with a story from panels that are 40, 50 years old. And that needs to be improved, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves and sharing. We are at about 10 minutes to 7. And so if there's anyone else who'd like to share anything, please feel free to do so. I think a lot of people shared a lot already. And we do have raised hands, so I'll get to that in a moment. But before we do that, I did want to share a little bit of context for what this is for folks who don't know what the Truth and Healing Council is, because we didn't totally go over that, and I think it would be helpful for some of the folks who are new to this space. So in 2019, the governor issued an apology via executive order for the historical genocide of California Native peoples that happened at the origin of statehood. With that apology, he created a charge to create a Truth and Healing Council that will examine and reframe that history that's inclusive of Native people from the Native perspective, and we'll also have a series of recommendations. They can be budget recommendations, they can be policy recommendations, they can also be charges to local communities to reframe how they're telling stories, how they're elevating Native people, how they're creating space, and how they're doing their own restorative justice initiatives. We're in the middle of that process right now. The report that will come out of that process is due in 2025. It's likely that that will also create some different mechanisms that come out of that process, but we'll also have recommendations for how to do better. We imagine that those will be iterative. So right now there's some very big problems. Those are going to be the things that are identified first probably, and as those problems become more manageable, we imagine that more problems and more issues and more opportunities for healing and reframing and restoring and elevating will continue over time. Right now, this is part of the process of hearing from community. In addition to these types of listening sessions or hearings that are specific to sites or locations or just for the local population, there are also quarterly meetings that take place throughout the space and take place over some time. So it's a couple days of hearing about issues specific to that community or what the tribes in the region want to talk about, or historical things that happen in that area. We will be back in the Sonoma region generally within the next year, and will not be in this location, but we'll be talking about some of the other issues that happened here. For example, the driving Native people up to Round Valley, Native people hiding at Fort Ross, all of the things that have happened. The displacement of Native agricultural workers when the vineyards came in. My great-grandma actually was also an agricultural worker, and my mom and her siblings would get trucked up to work on the prune farms every summer before this became what's now known as wine country. So this is happening throughout the state. There's a lot of recordings of conversations that have happened already. We know that not everybody has come to share, and we know that a lot of people are waiting to share. And so if there are people here or not here who would like to share their stories, we'll also take written submissions, and we can also meet you where you're all at. A few announcements. Right now, the California Natural Resources Agency, as aligned with this work, has a nature-based solutions and 30 by 30 fund of $100 million for tribal nature-based solutions and 30 by 30. That's all to say it can be land transfer, purchase, easements, conservation, lots of things. It's only limited by imagination. The California Truth and Healing Fund, which is overseen by the Decolonizing Wealth Project, just opened another round of funding for community-based projects. So things like what Monique had mentioned, but also funding groups to be able to engage in this process, funding groups to be able to do their own histories, do their own research, or even do kind of regional truth and healing projects. That right now, they're hoping to fund $1 million this time around. So that is currently live and active on the Decolonizing Wealth Project page. Is there anything else I should add? Okay, so that's it for now. And then we had a raised hand. Oh,
Yes, so I am on the status and identity subcommittee, and I believe I heard 2 or 3 people that were here also. I'm wondering if we could meet before we break up, because the other virtual thing's not working, so if we're all here in person, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
We have another raised hand.
No, I wasn't raising my hand. I was agreeing with what she said.
Well, we have another raised hand. We have 2 raised hands.
So I just wanted to ask if that's funding also for the unfederated, federal recognized tribes? So do you have to have a 501c3?
Unless you're a federally recognized tribe.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
But you could be fiscally sponsored.
You can be fiscally sponsored by a 501c3.
I just wanted to end things on a good note. We were talking about healing. I will be doing in actually April, I put in a 30-foot tui boat over in Sausalito Harbor. I tested it out because in 2025, I'll be building a 60-foot with my friend Jin from Japan. And we're going to be sailing from San Francisco Harbor Bay all the way to Hawaii. Originally to prove that the Native community has done this before. They said we'll be breaking records. I'm just proving that traditionally it'll be a traditional tule boat, and we've done it. But in the midst, I started in 2019, and the pandemic hit. So we put it off for a couple years, and we started back up. As I said, I tested the boat. But during the pandemic, I came to a conclusion, because it took 1,000 bundles for the 30-footer. The 60-footer will take 3,000 bundles. So every tribe that will donate and allow me to harvest, I want to elect their tribal flag. I want them to put their concern, education, homelessness, drugs, whatever their region's concern is, write it on the flag. I'll sail it over to Hawaii, February or March 2025, dance it out with my Hawaiian brothers, and my hope is when I come back, I'll have 70 to 65 tribal flags, but I'll give that tribal flag back to that tribe, and hopefully I have 1 or 2 other tribes that share that concern, so we can connect together in a good way. And once again, this boat is being built out of all tules, which is sacred to all Native Californians. We use it in our big heads, in our huts, in our boats, in our foods, in our baskets and nets. So once again, it's more than a reed to it, it's a way of life. And this will connect us spiritually. Dennis Banks helped me and hooked me up with my friend Jin Ishikawa, and he compared it to the longest walk but on water. And he said that to me before he passed. So as I said, I just wanted to let you in and end this on a good note of healing, because it is a healing thing. And hopefully, as I said, get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook, and I'm just looking for places to harvest. So thank you guys again for your time.
Thank you. And you've actually reminded me of a couple more things. Hokulea is landing. This is a Polynesian boat that travels around the world, is landing in San Francisco next weekend, the 24th. So I'll be there as well. So if folks are local and want to see that, you can Google it, San Francisco. The 22nd is California Native American Day. That's throughout the state, but the state capitol also has a celebration of all of the tribes who come up for anybody who's interested. Some people will be there. For anyone who's interested in learning more about California Native people, getting some good jewelry and supporting Native people, and just kind of understanding a bit more. It also happens to be an optional state holiday, so if you're a state worker, you can actually opt to take that time off as well. Most of the Native people who work for the state have to do Native American Day, though, so we don't get it often. And then this is more personal, but my tribe's big time is tomorrow, and it's up near Warm Springs Dam, which is our ancestral homelands that got flooded. But if anybody's interested in that, that is a traditional gathering of the Dry Creek Pomo people, and that will be tomorrow. Yes. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you to the ACLU who paid attention to us and coming and hearing us out a little bit. I don't know if they came the other times. I've been here to 3 of our truth healing conferences, and it's nice to have them here taking a look at us, and maybe they'll take on some of our issues. Maybe they won't, but we appreciate you guys coming.
I think he brought a lot of cards with him, too. Do you want to hand up to Rose?
And also so we did mention that we will be back somewhere in Sonoma and Mendocino County. If there are any ideas of gathering spaces, please reach out to us, and we're happy to hear those and get plans. So I'm gonna pass it over to Rose, who has a mic already.
I just wanted to give thanks to everyone that came, and you know, part of this, the healing piece is acknowledging the people that were on this land, and we do that by telling our stories, and we do that by you know, holding space, and I think that's what we came here to do with good intentions. And you know, I'm in Lake County where you know, the Bloody Island massacre occurred, and so you know, that came from here out, and my people on the lower end kind of were missed on my father's side. And as they traveled up towards through Habanapo and up towards Shagam, and there was a lot of people massacred, they also went down like where you call the 101 and the Russian River. We don't call it the Russian River, it's not the river, but also that ran bloody all the way down, and so that, you know, came from here. And so we actually and the elders in Shagam actually have a candlelight vigil to honor those people that passed, to honor those people that were killed, and to tell that story. And that was a way to heal the next generation, and to tell that story. And it's more populated by non-Native people actually that go. And I don't like to say non because you're something. You're just. And when I hear people say Native California, I think, oh, what tribe are you from? So it's a little confusing sometimes, but you know, we are our community, and that's retelling our story. You know, my dad always says, you know, they tell history. It's his story about us, and so this is the opportunity to tell our story. I was a young person that did refuse to make the Sugar Cube mission, and I just got a bad grade. I didn't get in the 80s. We didn't really. It was a different time, but something in me knew, like, no, that's not a good thing to do. And as I sit here, you know, I remember that feeling of knowing another story, intuitively knowing, and the biggest impact was being able to share that in high school, to share that in stories to my history class, that I have a different history in the book. And that was empowerment for me. That was healing for me to say, no, that's not what really happened. And it's not in a book. It's an elder that told me. It's an account, you know, verbally from our people. And so that is healing for me, you know, to share that and to come in here in a good way. You know, it is, like I said, it is a hard thing to do in its everyday life that we get through these strides. But I thank everyone for being here and listening and holding space, and like I said, I came to support how I can, and so I did stop and gather some medicine because it's a lot to take in, and I just want to share with you all after this, you know, in our cultural way, we go wash ourselves, we clean ourselves, we get water and we wash our hands and we wash our face, and we let what's here stay here.
And so I just want to share that with you all, that it's a way to, because there are things here. And so we don't want to take them to our homes. We don't want to bring them in our cars. We don't want to take them home to our children. And so that's a good way to just kind of leave it here. So thank you.
There's also leftover tacos. We left about 10 plates, so if you want